thrill with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill. I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme.
Aha! Hideo Kojima. So, Metal Gear Solid is a game series made up of like 25 games. It all started in 1922 when the Wise Men Committee was created. Now, this doesn't mean anything. So the Wise Men were created. And they're never heard from again. They don't do anything. It's not important. Immediately after becoming the Wise Men, they stopped and they became the Patriots. No, the philosophers. You're right. They had to change their name and they went with the philosophers. The philosophers were made up of a few different people. Those being Roy Campbell, also known, no, it's not Roy Campbell. Guys, there's too many characters in this game. Major Zero, and his good friend, the boss. Let's talk about the boss, shall we? This is fun. So, Major Zero and the boss were members of the philosophers. Now, the philosophers were a shadow organization made up by a bunch of people that we don't know, except for these two people, which I just said. Pay attention. Now, their goal was to control the government in any way they can. And how they did that was they would influence elections, they would influence other stuff. I don't really know what happened in the 20s. Wars. They influenced wars. So, World War I, II, the Cold War, friggin' Korean War, the Vietnam War, what other war? The War on Terror? I'll take that. And yeah, pretty much anything. They were putting their little fingers in every single bowl of the government. But this girl right here didn't like that. Her name is... Did they ever give her a name? I don't actually think she has a name. No, yeah. Her name is The Joy. Yeah, they didn't give her a name. So this is The Joy. So she is a highly trained soldier, better than any of them. And she's a woman. She became the top soldier of the philosophers. And Major Zero and her were war buddies. They would fight together. They would fight other people together. They would fight each other eventually. So she became disillusioned with the philosophers. They were doing all this crazy stuff. She didn't like it. So she decided to hop, skip, and run away. So after the boss defected from the philosophers, she created her own unique task force called the Cobra Unit, consisting of the Fury, the Pain, where's his bees? The Pain, who controls bees, the bees, the Sorrow, who she got freaky with, and last but not least, the End. Now, this unique, I guess, task force was just kind of made to kill people. They did like one mission legally, but then they immediately disbanded because the boss left for the philosophers. So now these guys are out of a job. But luckily, They all love the boss, as she was started to be known as the boss. So, the Cobra unit now had one goal in mind: kill the government. Kind of. What they actually did was they defected with Volgin to then join the Russians and gave the Joy the new name of the boss. So, after that happened, the United States government decided we need to kill the boss. Here comes John. Now, John here was actually trained by the boss. He was part of his own little secret group called Foxhound. Where is it? Hold up. Wait, I found it. Foxhound. So, what the Foxhounds. So what these guys did is they infiltrate other governments and take over democratically. Did we cut that from the record? Okay, thank you. Just making sure. I don't want anything to be confusing in this video. So now John works for Foxhound, being held by Major Zero, and their job is to attack the boss along with her Cobra unit, who have now started to work with Volgin and the Russian government. Their job was to find Dr. Sokolov before the Russians. What Sokolov created was something known as a metal gear. No, wait, that wasn't called it. When did they? It was not called a Metal Gear. It was called the Shagohod, which is somewhere. He created Shagohod, a prototype of a Metal Gear. What? Okay. Shagohod. So Sokolov created the Shagohod, which he then sold to the Russians, but then, I don't know, he changed his mind and he's like, oh no, Zero saved me. So then Zero sent Foxhound along with John to then save Shagohod from the Russians. Now, to make this less confusing, let me put the string on. So he All right, guys, brief intermission done. So, John is working for Foxhound, and Foxhound wants to take down the boss. We following? We're following. So, their first goal, recover Sokolov and the Shagohod from the Russians. Now, some backstory of John. John was a protege of the boss. Now, after he finished training with the boss, she left. He was like, kind of sucks. He started doing soldier work, started working for Zero, continued the legacy, and now we are back to Snake Eater. Operation Virtuous Mission. This was the initial mission to help get Sokolov and the Shagohod out of Russia, and John was tasked to do it. Dropped in the Russian wilderness with no equipment, he was given the nickname Naked Snake. After Virtuous Mission kind of failed, the United States government kind of blacklisted John and Zero and Foxhound from everything. And they were given one last chance to drop Snake back in the Russian wilderness, again with no equipment, to rescue both the Shagohod and Sokolov, but also bring Volgin to justice. So, during this initial mission, Snake then realized that the boss defected to Russia, because again, they didn't tell him that. They told him she died. So he saw the boss and he's like, the boss? I know her. So he was like, oh my gosh, it's the boss. But then she went, and beat him. And he went, oh. And he's sitting there on the ground. He's like, ah. But then he gets his iconic headband. I'm gonna go get a Sharpie. Give me a second. Any of you guys have a Sharpie on you?
No.
Darn it. I'll be right back. I need a Sharpie. That's what I think, actually. I need a Sharpie. Yeah. No, that's green. Sharpie, let's go. Are we still rolling? Okay, so he gets his iconic headband from the boss, which you can see is no longer wearing her headband. But if we look in this picture I have, he has the headband. I just forgot to get the right picture. So pretend he has the headband on. So after Snake gets his headband, he then encounters the best character in the entire franchise, Revolver Ocelot. Revolver Ocelot is some random guy that we think, some random guy who runs a squad of people where, unironically, in front of his entire crew, he just meows like a cat and then wins every fight. Just every fight. Until he meets John. Now, when Revolver Ocelot interacts with John, also known as Naked Snake, he goes, "What's up, Snake? I bet you've never seen a guy like this before." These are revolvers, because his name's Revolver Ocelot. I don't know if I said that. He has revolvers. So he goes, he flips them around, which they actually did mocap for that. Just thought you wanted to know. So he's flipping the revolvers around, he's like, and he goes, and then he shoots Snake with the guns, and he misses all of the gun. He misses everything. He misses every shot. He can't hit any shot. Yeah, he kind of sucks at his job. So then he gets defeated by Snake, and then after that, Snake meets this hot woman named Eva. I don't know what Kojima was thinking. He just kind of took her clothes off and was like, you know what, that's good character design. So after Snake meets up with Eva, Snake learns that the philosophers, which if you remember, we talked about those a while ago, the philosophers have something called the Philosopher's Legacy, which is basically a little microchip that has like $10 billion on it. She's trying to find the microchip. He's trying to do something, I don't know. He's trying to kill Volgan, but also he's trying to get the boss back on his side. But also he's trying to kill this guy that he just found, but also he ran away like a little cat, so he can't find him anymore. So Eva starts to try and flirt with Snake. She takes her clothes off, she tries to touch on him, do all this stuff. But Snake is too autistic to notice any of that. She gives him a gun and he goes, "Oh, the engravings, the tactical reload." He just starts like freaking out about the gun. And then she's like, well, this guy doesn't get any of the hints, so she dips.
Don't worry, though. The one I've got for you is American made.
$45, huh? Incredible.
Do you like it?
The feeding ramp is polished to a mirror sheen.
And then after that, Snake finds all of these guys. He finds the Fury, the Old, the End, the Sorrow, and he just kind of kills all of them. He just kind of goes to the the Russian, the Soviet forest, and it just starts like, and he starts killing all of the Cobra unit. And then, I don't know what happens. I think the game ends after that. I don't remember. So Snake's new objective is to go through the Russian forest and kill all of these guys. The Fury goes out like a B word. He goes out like a little bitch. The pain, he controls the bees. Goes out like a bitch. The end, Snake waits for 20 minutes and he dies of old age. He is that old. He can't hit any shot because he's 100 years old. The Sorrow, he's already dead. The boss killed him like 20 years ago and his ghost was alive. The boss, she's pretty cool. She doesn't die like a bitch. She's cool. I don't use bitch against women. That's a don't use that word. After Snake kills all of Cobra Unit, he's then encountered by Revolver Ocelot one more time. And it's revealed that Revolver Ocelot is actually the biological son of the everything's falling. Hold up. The biological son of the boss. Born during D-Day on the battlefield. Unironically, she left the boats and then got stuck. What do you call it? She was like on the beaches and then had to like take a step away, I guess, from being shot at to give birth and then just went back to fighting. It's kind of funny. The Revolver Ocelot is the biological son of the boss. And he reveals that and then does the same thing he did before where he shoots at Snake, misses, and then runs away. So, after he reveals that, Snake's like, what? I don't want to kill the boss. But then Major Zero is like, you gotta kill the boss. So then he's like, well, I am a soldier, so I'm just gonna go kill her. So he confronts the boss in a flower field. I forgot what flower it was, but they're like the white lilies or something. I don't remember. But so he confronts the boss and he's like, you gotta die. And she's like, you gotta die. And then they come to an agreement where they're like, well, we both gotta kill each other, but whoever wins, wins. By the way, I didn't actually betray the government. I'm just a pawn for the government to blackmail the Russians into thinking that they started the Cold War. So then the CIA used the boss as basically like a scapegoat for every bad thing that happened with Russia. So she basically just got screwed over, like hard. And then she was just kind of like, well, I don't really have any choices, so I gotta die. So the boss is like, Naked Snake, we gotta fight, and whoever wins will be crowned the boss. So then they're like, and then Snake shoots the boss, and he's like, what have I done? No, and she's on the floor, and he fucking shoots her head off. It's kind of crazy. Actually, I don't think he shoots her head off, but it's like, she's on the floor, and he just has like a big ass gun, and he's like, this sucks, man, and then just blasts her. So the boss is now dead. And then Snake is like, I guess mission accomplished. I don't really know. But then it's revealed that Eva was working for the Chinese government, but she was also working for Zero, but she was also working for Ocelot, because Ocelot was also working for Zero, because nothing matters. So Ocelot was just kind of shooting the dice, I guess, with Naked Snake, because they were both kind of working together, but also they weren't. Also, fun little fact that I think Kojima forgot. This guy is from Metal Gear Solid 5. He was also here. Except, no, he wasn't. We'll get to that. So, the boss is dead. John is sad. Ocelot, Eva, working together, but also not. Volgin, I don't know. He died in the Shago Hod, which at this point doesn't really matter. So, after that happens, Lyndon B. Johnson. Don't laugh. This is important. Hold up, sorry. Wrong picture of Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson. This is what he actually looked like. Lyndon B. Johnson is like, Snake, you did such a good job at killing the boss. You get a raise. You're now big boss. So Lyndon B. Johnson is like, good job, Snake. You're now big boss. And then Snake's like, but I don't want to be Big Boss. Oh, Snake also lost his eyeball. I forgot about that. He lost an eyeball because Ocelot shot him in the eyeball. Well, actually, it wasn't. Ocelot got off scot-free. He was just chilling. Zero is like, Big Boss, you should join the Philosophers, which includes literally every person that you just fought, including the girl that tried to sleep with you. All of these guys are all connected because they all work for Zero, who now heads the Philosophers after the boss's departure. So, Big Boss, Ocelot, Eva, Zero. And this guy, who I forgot to mention, he doesn't do anything. And this girl. They don't really do anything. Paramedic, this is this girl's name. Her name's Paramedic. She talks to Snake about Godzilla during the mission. And Mr. Donald Anderson here talks to Snake about taking his clothes off during the mission. But then, after Snake killed the boss, he was like, maybe war is bad, and maybe the military is bad. So he's like, I'm done with America. I hate Lyndon B. Johnson. And he's like, I gotta get out of here. So he's like, no, Zero, I'm not joining the Philosophers. That's stupid. So Zero is like, grrr, Snake, you must join the Philosophers. And then he just leaves, he dips. He's like, I'm done with this. So then Zero is like, oh, if only there was some way to get Snake back. So he clones Snake. Les Enfants Terribles, The Terrible Three, is a project that Zero started along with Mr. Donald Anderson here to clone Big Boss to create 2 more Big Bosses because he just couldn't think of any other way to, I don't know, do anything. We are now going to move on to the second Metal Gear game. That was the first game. Peace Walker. Notice how it doesn't have a number? Don't care.
You just stand there like an idiot in front of an enemy, you might as well kill yourself now!
Game 2. So, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker follows the journey of Big Boss. Big Boss. Big Boss is now like, guys, government bad, war bad. I'm gonna start my own private military company called Militaries Sans Frontiers, which means soldiers without borders. What if soldiers could just like fight for everyone? I don't know, it's weird. He has a weird ideology. We're gonna start to figure out that no one really understands the boss. The boss, not Big Boss, the boss. No one really understands her. Because after this point, every single character is like, I'm gonna continue the boss's will, and then just starts killing people. Her entire philosophy was like, war is bad, we should stop fighting, and sometimes you gotta take one for the team. These guys don't understand that. So, Big Boss is like, I'm gonna start the soldier company, MSF. And he just kind of starts hiring soldiers that no longer had a country to work for. Cue the color. Peace Walker. Kazuhira Miller. I love this guy. He loves Big Boss. What more is there to love? His name is Peace in Japanese, because he's just that kind of guy. So Mr. Peace over here is like, let's start killing people. So him and Big Boss work together to start just kind of killing people. It's kind of crazy. So what MSF is kind of doing right now is they're in Costa Rica just kind of vibing. They don't really have like a home establishment yet. So they're just kind of like walking around. Hence, Soldiers Without Borders. So MSF is now in Costa Rica, basically just kind of working as a mercenary group. Anyone that hires them is like, work for us, help us, kill these people or like fight these people. And then Big Boss is just like, that's A-okay with me. I'm a big fan of war. Huey Emmerich. That was a moment of silence for Huey Emmerich. Not because he deserves it, but because I fucking hate him. In the first game, he's fine. He's kind of like the protege of Sokolov, where he's now starting to build what are called Metal Gears. It's basically the Shadowha from the third game. You can see a lot of the similarities here with like the gun here and then So Huey starts to build this Metal Gear for our CIA agent, Hot Cold Man. I'm telling you, man, Kojima, I don't get him. Like, you know what? It's gonna chill there. So every time I'm saying anything, we're reminded, you can blame this guy. So Hot Coldman is a CIA director who is inscripting the help of Huey Emmerich to build this Metal Gear called Peace Walker. So Hot Coldman is like, I gotta start making bombs. So he makes this Metal Gear with the help of Huey Emmerich and basically holds Costa Rica captive. His goal is basically, if I create this Metal Gear and then threaten the US government with a nuke, because it can do that apparently, I can get a bunch of money. So that's his goal. But he runs into, what's this guy's name? Galvez is like, hey, this Hot Coldman guy is making a Metal Gear. That's bad. I gotta hit up my homies, MSF, which, they don't know this guy. They don't know him. But they were like, oh, well, he reached out to us. And I mean, he's a little suspicious, but like, he's not that bad. And they trust him, which is stupid. But I think I know what happened. Paz Ortega. So, despite what she looks like, she's like 26. Paz Ortega goes undercover as a schoolgirl studying abroad in Costa Rica, meets up with Galvez. Galvez and them are like, this Hot Coldman guy's bad news. Boo, we gotta get him out of here. So then Galvez and Paz then go with MSF, and then they basically plead to him and they're like, please kill this man, please kill this man. So they're just like, sure, man, let's go kill him. They meet a child soldier named Chico. He's pretty cool. He's a cool old guy. He's gonna have a really rough life in a bit. Don't tell him I said that. Chico's just a cute little kid. He's just a child soldier. They meet Dr. Strangelove, who I forgot to print. So let me just. She has like sunglasses. And then she has like a trench coat. So just pretend that's like a trench coat. She doesn't smile. She's unhappy. Yeah. What's the lesbian flag? Is it vertical or horizontal stripes? Horizontal. Okay. I couldn't spell lesbian, but that's the lesbian flag. That's Dr. Strangelove. They meet Dr. Strangelove, who's working for Hot Cold Man as his basically just kind of like a intelligence operator. She has some connections with the boss from the last game. Basically, she was like one of the soldiers that fought with her. No, she was one of the like technicians that helped her on a mission or something. I don't know. But she started developing feelings for the boss, which then leads us to this thing. Now, this thing is an AI pod recreation of the boss's memory in like AI form. Because basically, Strangelove is like, the boss is the only person that knows how the world should be. So she creates this AI version of the boss to then pilot the Peace Walker Metal Gear. So then the pod can pilot the Metal Gear, so then she can bring peace because it's the boss who likes peace. So then, but Hot Coldman doesn't know that. So he thinks the pod's just like there to kill people, but it's actually the boss. So, after Big Boss, this guy. So after the boss is in the AI pod by Strangelove, working for Hot Coldman to pilot Peace Walker, built by Huey Emmerich, MSF now needs to kill Hot Coldman, which they do pretty easily. Basically, he's like, I'm gonna hold the US government hostage. And then they kill him. What actually happens is that the boss's AI pod revolts against Hot Coldman and is like, peace, peace, because Strangelove made a good AI because she loved the boss, so she gets that. But then the boss's AI kills itself, which is weird, but it makes sense in the story because she was sinking the Peace Walker Metal Gear, so she had to inadvertently kill herself to stop it. But then Big Boss sees this and he's like, she killed herself? No, it's a little teardrop. He's sad. He's like, no, why did she kill herself? So then he abandons the bandana and he's like, imagine I had a bandana. I was actually gonna buy a bandana, but I couldn't find one that I liked. So he's like, and he throws the bandana away. And then Strangelove is like, why'd you do that? And he's like, why would the boss kill herself again? Because he's still mourning the loss of the boss, and he was hoping that the AI pod could maybe fill in the gaps, and maybe, they could, I don't know. So then Paz betrays Galvez, but Galvez also betrays MSF to kill them. They basically take Peace Walker back to Mother Base. That's what Mother Base looks like, by the way. They take it back to Mother Base. And then Miller is like, we got to use the Peace Walker. We got to use the Peace Walker. My name stands for peace. V for peace. V for peace. So he's like, I got to use the Peace Walker as a deterrence to stop other militaries from trying to start evil wars. And then Big Boss is like, why do we need a nuke? We do not need that. So then there's some tension in paradise. And they take the Peace Walker. And then Paz is like, now's my chance. So she hops in the Metal Gear and then starts piloting it. And then basically is like, Big Boss, if you don't agree to my terms, I'm gonna bomb a country. I forgot. I think it's the US. I think it's the US. She's like, I'm gonna bomb the US. And Big Boss is like, no. But then Galvez also betrays them, but betrays them in a different way than Paz because he's working for the KGB. So he's like, V for peace. And then he shoots his metal arm at Boss, but it doesn't do anything. And then he just dies.
Big Boss!
My work is done.
What are you talking about?
V for victory! Rocket, peace!
Paz takes the Metal Gear, starts to kill Boss, but then Boss uses his cool powers of guns to kill Peace Walker and then shoot Paz into the ocean. She's gone. She's in the Pacific Ocean. Get the reference. Galvez also dead. No, MSF! MSF is not dead. Don't forget that. MSF is fine. All good. We're all doing good. So then Kazuhira Miller, he knew that Paz was gonna betray them. Where did she go? Paz? She's in the Pacific Ocean. He knew that Paz was gonna betray them. But he didn't tell them. Also, Zero's back. Zero is the one that hired Paz. Huh? Oh, wait. I found Paz. She's back because she still has some story relevance. So Paz was actually hired by Zero but also with Miller to kill Big Boss with the Peace Walker, but not actually kill him. They just wanted to get him to join the Philosophers again because he still isn't over that. He basically was like, join the Philosophers or I'm gonna kill the United States government with my Peace Walker mech. But then Big Boss is like, no, and then he beats the Peace Walker and then puts Paz in the ocean again. And then Miller is like, oh, I actually knew that they were gonna betray you, but I didn't tell you because I think it would have been better for both of us. His reasoning is really stupid. He basically is like, well, if we have Peace Walker, then we become a real military organization because we actually have some firepower. But once he realized that they're gonna take Peace Walker, he was like, oh, if we just kill Paz, then we can keep Peace Walker. Paz is no longer an option, and Zero can go suck it. But what actually happened was that Peace Walker, bottom of the ocean with Paz, and Miller just looked stupid. So Big Boss is like, I don't like Miller anymore. He's kind of annoying and I don't like him. But also they're gay lovers because there's a secret mini game where you can go on the beach in your bathing suits and have sex in the box, but it's implied.
Snake, would you be up for going to the coast to watch the sunset? Just the two of us?
Take me to heaven, Snake. Ooh, got room for two? Aha. Glad to be with you, boss.
So after they had sex on the beach,
Arigato.
The next game, Ground Zeroes.
Cue the color.
Cue the color. Cue the color.
What color? Cue the...
Red. Ground Zero. Ground Zeroes. What happens in Ground Zeroes? Everything, actually. This is when it gets weird. And I mean that. Ground Zeroes. So, this is a prelude to the Phantom Pain, but we'll get to that. So, Big Boss is a little confused now. He's like, I don't really know what to do. My country hates me. He's kind of a fugitive from the countries, every country. He's still heading MSF. They're doing pretty good for a entirely militia-based military. He's still working with Miller despite the little hiccup in their relationship. They've never been better. They have, but they're doing fine. He's kind of just chilling. He's like, I don't really know what to do. So they're pimp chimping, living life, doing good. But then, he's back. Skullface. No, he's back. What happened? So Skullface, if we remember, he was there during the Snake Eater incident. He just didn't do anything. You don't see him. You don't see him in the game. He's not mentioned in the game. He's not even referenced in the game. The reason we know he was there is because there's some videotapes in Phantom Pain that they're literally just like, oh yeah, Snake Eater was, or Skullface was there actually. He was there the whole time. He was just kind of like sneaking around doing stuff. So Skullface heads a unit cleverly known as XOF. Now, this is a kind of like really hidden detail. Do we notice anything about these? He heads a unit called XOF, which is the sister unit to Foxhound. How does he do it? How does he do this, dude? He is so smart. So, he heads XOF, which is again evil version of XO or Fox something. But he knows Big Boss because again he was there during the Snake Eater incident. So he saw when Lyndon B. Johnson made him Big Boss. He was there. And he's all angry. He's like, "Grr, grr." Why is he mad again? Oh, Zero. Because of Zero. He's mad at Zero. But like he used XOF to like do some more shady stuff in the military. Shadier than what he was doing with Foxhound. So Skullface was like, "Oh, we're your guys, right?" And then he kind of dropped him after Peace Walker. So now Skullface is like, "Grr, I gotta get revenge." So Skullface captures some members of MSF, including Paz and everyone's favorite child soldier, Chico. They're both in jail. He's holding them in a black site called Guantanamo Bay. If you don't know what Guantanamo Bay is, look it up. So, they're held in Guantanamo Bay. XOF is in cahoots with Zero, kind of? It's a little tricky. It's a little, I don't know, it's a little weird. It's a CIA black site where they lock up prisoners without trial or due process or anything, and they just keep them there. It's pretty cool. So Skullface captures Paz and Chico. And Big Boss, being the goat he is, saves Paz and Chico from Skullface. But after he saves them, it's then revealed it was all Huey's fault. Huey, being the worst person ever, is like, "Hey, MSF, we need to pass a nuclear inspection because like there's no other way for a nation to take us seriously if we don't prove that we don't have nukes," which they do, as we already discussed with Peace Walker. They had nukes. So Huey, being the genius he is like, what if we just sink everything? What if we just like dump it at the bottom of the ocean and then after the inspection, pick it back up? So Huey does this without them knowing. Miller and Big Boss were like, "Huey, don't do that, that's stupid. Just delay the inspection. We're on a mission right now to get Paz and Chico from Skullface, from XOF, who was the shadow government of Zero, and we can't be doing these inspections." So Huey is like, "Haha, don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway." So then after Big Boss rescues Paz and Chico, they come back to Mother Base. And it's on fire. Bombs, explosions, everything's gone. Mother Base destroyed. So Huey, who just so happened to be not on Mother Base when it happened, is like, "What? What happened?" And then dips. He leaves. He runs away. Runs away is ironic because his legs don't work. I'm not ableist, I just don't like Huey Emmerich. So, MSF, gone. It's gone. It's just fully destroyed. Miller is all upset because he's like, "Grr, Skullface." And Big Boss is like, "Grr, Skullface."
Inspection was nothing but a smokescreen. I heard explosions, then They played us like a damn fiddle!
And then Big Boss dies. And Paz also dies. Chico also dies because when they're going back to Mother Base, because it's on fire, they're trying to save all their men. They get shot with a rocket launcher and it blows up the helicopter they were in. So Big Boss dies, Chico dies, Paz dies. Paz died actually because Skullface implanted a bomb in her stomach. They cut her open and just planted a C4 in there. It's really gross because in the helicopter there's a medic and he's like, we gotta get the bomb out. And he's like, they're like, do you have any anesthesia? He's like, no, I don't. And just fully just dives into her stomach and just rips it out. And he's like, guys, I got the bomb out. And then Paz is like, by the way, there was a second bomb planted in a other spot I won't mention. And then blows up. Helicopter, gone. Like I said, Big Boss, dead. Miller somehow survived. Chico, dead. Paz, double dead. And that leads us into Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
V has come too.
Everything I just said was a lie. Big Boss isn't dead. Paz, we don't know. Chico, he's dead. Miller, still alive. But what happened was that after Big Boss died, quote unquote, they recovered him and they found him in a comatose state. So Miller and Zero come together because they're like, we can't let Big Boss die. We need to save him. So they save him. He's stuck in a coma. And then they use the medic that saved Paz. And they basically just gave him plastic surgery and brainwashed him into thinking he was Big Boss. And that is where we introduce our first new snake, Venom Snake. Venom Snake is the exact same person as Big Boss, except he is not Big Boss. What? He is a fake body double clone, kind of. Yeah, but he thinks he's Big Boss. He thinks he's Big Boss, but he's not Big Boss. But Zero knows that he's not Big Boss, but he doesn't know he's not Big Boss. Big Boss also knows that he's not Big Boss because he's Big Boss. Miller doesn't know. Wait. Miller doesn't know that Venom isn't Big Boss. He thinks he's Big Boss, but he's not Big Boss. Let me make that clear. Not Big Boss. So, the Phantom Pain. The Phantom Pain starts with Venom in a coma. I don't know how to draw a coma. No, it's still the Phantom Pain because it's red. See? Red for Phantom Pain. See, also, this is another thing that's really stupid. So you know how I kept doing that stupid joke of V for peace? Every character does that in Peace Walker. Kaz does it, Paz does it, even Hot Coldman does it, and Galvez does it. All of them are just V for peace, and it's really stupid. But then, this is what I don't know what to think about Kojima, because then they drop Metal Gear Solid V, not 5, V. But it's the Roman numeral for 5, but it's also a direct sequel to Peace Walker, and they have so many themes about what is peace, what is war, and it's really well done, but it's so stupid that every character just goes V for peace, V for peace. It's so stupid, but I love it. What was that? Anyway, so Phantom Pain starts in a hospital, where Big Boss, the real Big Boss, sneaks out of the hospital with the help of Revolver Ocelot. He's back. He had a very good glow up. What? Don't give me that face. Why is he back? He's the most important character in this game. No. Because remember, Adam sorry, Revolver Ocelot was working with Zero for the philosophers to get the philosopher's legacy, and he was working as a body double. Remember that? See, he gets it. This is really simple. I don't understand why you're.
Put it back.
This is really simple. I don't understand the hang-ups. So, Big Boss is then escorted out of the hospital by Revolver Ocelot, who also escorts Big Boss out of the hospital, but we don't know that yet. Everything I'm saying now is in hindsight. When you're playing the game, they don't tell you you're a body double. Get out of here, Huey. They don't tell you you're a body double until like very late, like literally one of the last missions in the game. It's kind of cool, but it's also really confusing from a like story point. So Revolver Ocelot, working with Zero, then escorts Big Boss out of the hospital. He's working with Zero to clone Big Boss, because if you remember, the Leyes Fontes Terribles was the secret mission to clone Big Boss. That hasn't really happened yet. Scratch that. It happened. It happened. He gets Big Boss out of the hospital with no worries. It's pretty simple. He basically is just like, oh, you're Big Boss, you're back. And then Big Boss leaves the plot. He's not involved for the rest of this game. He goes off to start his own private military company again, but this time with the help of like smarter people than Miller. No offense, Miller, but with like Ocelot and then with Venom and all this stuff. Basically, the whole point of Venom is to kind of like draw the attention where everyone in the world is like, oh my gosh, Big Boss is back, and he's doing all this stuff. So they're all focusing on him, but no one notices the actual Big Boss working in the shadows doing all this stuff. So after Revolver Ocelot gets Big Boss out of the hospital, he then goes back to get Venom Snake out of the hospital. But before he does that, he hypnotizes himself into thinking that this is the real Big Boss, and he does that to forget that Big Boss existed, but that this is the new Big Boss. So now Revolver Ocelot thinks that this is Big Boss, but it's not actually Big Boss, it's Venom Snake. So after he gets out of the hospital, the Man on Fire. Now, the Man on Fire, along with this child, they are invading the hospital to kill who they think is Big Boss, but is actually Venom Snake. And the real Big Boss is gone. He went off on a motorcycle. It was kind of cool. He literally smoked a cigar, hopped on a motorcycle, put on a leather jacket, and then dipped. It was kind of fire. Yeah, he dips. But these people don't know that, so they were like, we gotta kill Big Boss. So they invade the hospital to try and kill Venom Snake, who is being escorted by... I forgot about that! Big Boss... Sorry. Okay, so when Venom Snake awakens from his coma, he is then attacked by Quiet, who was an assassin hired by Skullface to kill Big Boss, who he doesn't know is not actually Big Boss. Again, the only people that know that Big Boss is the body double is Big Boss and Zero. Other than that, no one else knows. So, Skullface hires Quiet to kill who he thinks is Big Boss, but is actually Venom Snake. She fails. She gets burned alive, actually. It's kind of crazy. Is seemingly dead, but not actually dead. We'll see in a oh shoot. We'll see that she's not actually dead in a bit. Big Boss, under the guise of just some random medical guy, like another patient, he has like a bunch of tape over his face, so we can't see who it actually is. He also has his ass out. That's an important part of the lore. He is then escorting Venom Snake out of the hospital, but then the Man on Fire and who's called the third child, try and kill Venom Snake, who's still recovering from being in a coma for 9 years. Oh yeah, there's a 9-year time skip, by the way. So he's escorted out of the hospital. The Man on Fire starts to attack him, but then Venom Snake gets out of there. XOF and Skullface start to attack the hospital to try and kill Venom Snake before he can fully recover, who they also think is Big Boss, don't forget. And then after he gets out of the hospital, he meets up with Revolver Ocelot, and they encounter the whale on fire. Now, let me talk about the fire whale for a second. After they're leaving the hospital, Revolver Ocelot gets on horseback and escorts Venom Snake out of the hospital, but then the man on fire gets on his own horse, who is also on fire, and then a whale from the sky, who is also on fire, flies over, hits a helicopter, and then disappears. It is never mentioned again, and we don't know where it came from. It shows up one time, breaks a helicopter, and leaves. It is never mentioned again. Not even the characters mention it. They don't comment on it. It's just normal. Why did he write this? Anyway, so Big Venom Snake and Ocelot are being... No, Ocelot is escorting Venom Snake out of the hospital. They fight off the fire whale. And then Ocelot is basically like, yo, Venom, it's been 9 years. Everything's different. Hence starts the Phantom Pain. So the Phantom Pain is basically the story of Venom Snake working for the Diamond Dogs, I guess. Anyway, so after Big Boss and Venom Snake went in the coma, Kazuhiro Miller starts to build up Diamond Dogs, which is basically just the MSF again, but I don't know, they're dogs. It has a really stupid reason. He's like, we're all just dogs of war, but in the rough are diamonds. It's really stupid. But Miller starts building up Diamond Dogs so that when Big Boss, also known as Venom Snake, comes back, but he also doesn't know it's Venom Snake. He thinks it's Big Boss. When he comes back, he now has a new organization to helm. So after he gets back, Revolver Ocelot is basically like, hey, Snake, Miller is in really bad trouble right now. He got kidnapped while on a mission, basically captive. He's being held captive. So your first mission as Venom Snake is to save Miller from the terrorists in Afghanistan. So you go, you save him. He lost his vision. You can't see it because he has the shades, but he's like partially blind. He has no arm. There's no arm there. So after Peace Walker, after Ground Zero specifically, Miller is just kind of like angry, and he's like, we gotta kill everyone. So he is now just like, all right, screw being like this sanctuary for soldiers. We gotta go kill Skullface. So Miller is now teaming up with Venom and Ocelot and the Diamond Dogs unit to track down Skullface and kill him, basically to avenge all the people that died or whatever. Along the way, we meet some crazy characters like my favorite, Diamond Dog. It's a wolf that Snake finds and then raises him as his own. And he has his own little eye patch. I love him. Anyway. He also finds the goat that is, they're really good with their names, Diamond Horse. Don't laugh. Diamond Horse, who is Snake's trusty steed in the Afghani desert. He finds D Horse and D Dog, also known as DH and DD. He also meets, where'd Quiet go? I just said her. Oh, this is Strange Love. Okay, I was pretty close. Look, see? The coat, the glasses, the shorter hair. See? I was pretty close. Okay, well, she's not in... Oh, wait, no, she is in this game. Wait, no, she isn't. Wait, no, she is. But only kind of. She's important to Huey's character, who we'll talk about in a second. But on her own, she's already dead, so she's... doesn't matter. No, because last time I just saw her. I don't want to draw it. That's weird. It is a girl with no clothes on. I don't want to. That's weird. I just spent 3 hours talking about Metal Gear Solid. Do you think I know how to draw a naked woman? All right. Where is Quiet? Where'd it go? Did I put her? No. Oh, wait. She's right there! Okay. Yahtzee. So, Quiet is also someone they meet along in their adventures. Big Boss kills her in the hospital. She gets burned alive, but it turns out she didn't actually die. She just got all kind of screwed up. But then Skullface fixed her with parasites, and now she breathes through her skin, which is why she doesn't wear clothes. Also, Kojima scanned her feet. There, I said it. All right? There, I said it. Kojima scanned the actress that played Quiet. He scanned her feet in order to make them more accurate. How does one man do it? How does he do it? How does he... So on their adventures, Venom Snake meets up with D-Dog, the dog, the horse, Quiet, and they're trying to find Skullface. So during this whole endeavor, Miller is kind of the negative Nancy. He's like, oh, we gotta shoot Quiet. But Ocelot's like, no, but she's so bad. We can't do it. Which is weird because he's definitely gay. I'm gonna go on this tangent for a second. Ocelot is definitely gay for Big Boss. I'll start showing more proof about it later, but right now, all you need to know is that there is no reason that this man should be this dedicated to this man if they weren't gay for each other. And we already talked about how Big Boss and Kaz had sex on the beach. So we know Big Boss swings that way, but we don't know if Venom swings that way because, again, different characters. So while they're in the Afghanistan desert, they encounter the Man on Fire and the third child working for Skullface. Skullface finds Venom and is like, I gotta kill Venom Snake. But while he's doing that, it's revealed that Skullface used parasites to create the vocal cord parasite. Now, the vocal cord parasite is a disease that Skullface made that anyone that speaks a certain language is gonna die eventually. He basically just kind of throws it at Afghanistan and is like, anyone that speaks these languages, you're dead. Which is kind of funny because the US government kind of did the same thing. We didn't have a vocal cord parasite, but we did shoot a lot of brown people. So Skullface starts infecting Mother Base with the vocal cord parasite, and that's why Quiet doesn't speak. I forgot to mention that. She breathes through her skin, her feet got scanned, and she doesn't speak because she has the vocal cord parasite, but she saw Big Boss and she's like, he's so bad, I can't kill him, and then she doesn't speak. So after they're running around the Afghanistan desert, they start learning more about the conspiracy between the parasites, the Man on Fire, the third kid, not the whale horse, the fire whale. We don't know anything about that. He starts right on D-Doors. He starts talking with Miller and Ocelot, and they're like, we gotta kill this guy. We gotta kill Skullface. So during their adventures, they run into one Huey Emmerich, the bastard child, is working for Skullface because why wouldn't he be? He's basically like, but Skullface forced me. Skullface forced me, and then Skullface is like, yeah, I forced you, but you came to me. Rewind. Back in Ground Zeroes, that whole bombing incident was orchestrated by Skullface and Huey. Huey knew about it, but then after the fact, he feigns ignorance. He's like, I didn't know. I hate Huey. He knew the whole time. Don't let him confuse you. That's Mother Base, by the way. So Huey gets with Strangelove. How did he pull her? No clue. I don't think it was a love-filled relationship. I'm gonna be honest, because again, she is a lesbian. he gets with Strangelove. They have a kid who we'll talk about later. He gets with Strangelove, and the AI pod's back, by the way. It's back. I know we were all curious. So Huey was working with Skullface to create Sahelanthropus. Okay, so Huey built Sahelanthropus for Skullface. Sahelanthropus is another Metal Gear, but it's a lot bigger and it requires a human pilot. Huey discovers the old AI pod of the boss that Strangelove built, and he uses that to then pilot and control Sahelanthropus. But then, after Big Boss goes to take Huey back, because Huey sends out a distress signal and he's like, please help me, he has me captive. But at the same time, he's doing all, don't trust Huey. But so Big Boss, who is also Venom Snake, is like, we'll get Huey because he's building Sahelanthropus and that's bad for us. So they find Huey, but then they also find the AI pod of the boss. It reads Venom and it's like, Snake, it's not you, is it? And that's a subtle reference to the fact that he's not Big Boss, but he's actually Venom Snake, who is a body double of the real Big Boss. So after they get the AI pod, they bring it back to Mother Base, and then they find out that Strangelove died, and they then eventually find out that Huey killed Strangelove, stuffed her in the AI pod, and then just left her to die there. I hate Huey. But we don't find that out for a while. But gosh, I hate Huey. So XOF is still doing their whole thing. They keep, trying to kill Diamond Dogs. We find Code Talker. Code Talker is just some crazy old guy. He's the one that gave Skullface the vocal cord parasite. But he also is tied with Quiet because she was like, I don't know. They were both captive by Skullface, so they kind of like trauma bonded or whatever, even though he's like 97. So they find Code Talker and then they bring him back to Mother Base so that they can try and figure out what's happening with the vocal cord parasite. They find Skullface, who is evil. They found Huey. They then, I remember. So Big Boss, Ocelot, and Miller then realize that they have to go to Africa to, keep doing whatever they're doing. So they track Skullface down to Africa. They want to put a stop to him once and for all. He deploys the Man on Fire to try and kill Venom Snake. But then it's revealed that the Man on Fire is actually Volgin back from Snake Eater. He is back and he's on fire, baby. Which doesn't make sense because I don't think I mentioned this. Volgin has like lightning powers. Did I mention that? He also grabs Big Boss's Big Boss. I forgot to mention that. Back in Snake Eater, Snake is trying to infiltrate Volgin's lair and he's wearing a mask. And then Volgin, don't ask me, but he goes and fully grabs Big Boss's junk. And is like, you're not one of my soldiers.
Who are you?
So Volgin's back. He's the Man on Fire. And the way they described it was like as soon as Big Boss woke up, Volgin's hatred for Big Boss woke him up too, even though he was dead. So he's back, and the third child is only working with the Man on Fire because of his hatred. Basically, the third child is like a psychic, but they're really young, so they don't know how to hone in their abilities. So they're kind of just drawn to whoever has the most intense rage, which at the moment is Volgin. But then Big Boss finds Skullface, and he finds him in his lair, his skull lair, and then they activate Sahelanthropus, and they're like, this is my greatest weapon. So Skullface hates Big Boss. I forgot to mention this. There's a moment in Phantom Pain where Skullface and Venom are both in a Jeep together, like driving. And the entire time, Skullface is like ranting and like monologuing to Venom about like how he's so much cooler than Big Boss and like he should be the one to inherit the boss's legacy. And the entire time, Venom is sitting there just like, you're talking to the wrong guy, man. I am not Big Boss. But he doesn't know that, of course. But, so he has that. Oh, okay. So Venom, no. Zero and Skullface don't like each other. We already mentioned that. But during the events between Ground Zeroes and Peace Walk, or Ground Zero and Phantom Pain, that 9-year coma gap, Skullface finds Zero. During this entire time, Zero is off the grid. No one knows where he is. He's in hiding. He is basically just MIA. And Skullface tracks down Zero and sends him a package. The package contained a little pin that the boss and Zero both had as like, you know, because they were like comrades. So Zero grabs the pin and then he pricks himself and he's like, ow. And then that prick contains a very, very strong strand of the parasite, which immediately paralyzed Zero. He goes in critical condition. The people watching him, like his trusted circle, like try and rush to save him, but it's too late. Zero is now paralyzed and no longer is as like prevalent of a threat, but he still is there and he's still alive. He's just paralyzed and can't really speak that well. So Big Boss finds Skullface and he activates Sahelanthropus, and then Sahelanthropus kills the man on fire because the third child. Did I talk about Eli? I didn't. Okay, this is Eli. Eli. They find this random child in Africa, but it turns out this child is who will be eventually known as Liquid Snake. Liquid Snake, we're not going to get into that right now, but all you need to know is that Liquid Snake is a clone of Big Boss. Remember Leia's Fantelibles by Zero? It came to fruition in the form of a child, but no one knows that yet. He's just there. So after Sahelanthropus kills the man on fire, the third child then uses Eli's anger to pilot Sahelanthropus to then kill Skullface and Big Boss. But after he kills Skullface, Big Boss destroys this entire thing by himself with no like fancy weaponry or anything. For scale, like, I don't even know how to do it for scale. Like, this black dot is how big Big Boss is compared to this. And he killed that, he did it like just with a gun. He's him. He is the GOAT. So he kills Sahelanthropus, also killing the man on fire, and Skullface. But Skullface is still alive. He's just basically on the brink of death. He has like a bunch of debris on him and he's stuck and he's like, oh. So then Miller and Big Boss walk up to Skullface and they're like, they shoot him a bunch of times, but like in non-vital areas, like in his arm and like his legs and stuff. Like they're basically just like trying to torture him, kind of. And they're like, don't kill him. He doesn't deserve a quick death. He deserves to like suffer. So they walk away, and then fucking Huey walks up and shoots him in the face and kills him. And he's like, I did it, guys. I killed Skullface. You dumb fucker. You didn't need to do that. And then he does this whole parade of like, I did it. I'm so strong. No, you're not. He was crippled. Just like you dumb fucker. He also keeps blaming Big Boss for everything that happened on MSF, who, may I remind you, this is not Big Boss, but he doesn't know that. Oh my gosh. So after pretty much everyone's dead, Diamond Dogs kind of don't know what to do anymore because, you know, they're the guy that they wanted to get revenge on is dead. So like, what's the point of doing anything anymore? So then Miller, Ocelot, and Big Boss just kind of like keep doing normal things around the base. But then this is Huey's probably the worst thing he's done. Even worse than killing his wife. Because like I mentioned before with the vocal cord parasite, that was still going around, but since it was meant to attack Africa and Afghanistan, most of Diamond Dogs were safe because they were speaking more like European languages. So like English, German, French, they were pretty chill. But a few of the soldiers that they found did actually speak those languages, meaning that anytime they would start talking, they would die because the parasite was, honed in on those languages. I don't get it, it's weird, but mostly the parasite was taken care of. But just, as a precautionary measure, because Skullface did the whole like, you haven't killed me yet blah, 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 thing. So like, just as a precaution, they were like, okay, let's check all the soldiers on Mother Base. Let's see, see if they're infected, all this stuff. And Huey uses X-rays on the parasite, which doesn't sound that bad, but they knew this for a fact, that the parasites had bad reactions to X-rays and gamma rays and all that stuff, meaning that Huey knowingly did something very dangerous with the volatile disease, and he mutated it so that it would just hook onto any language. So now pretty much almost all of Mother Base is screwed. So they have to quarantine off a huge area, and then they're just like, well, nothing we can do. Venom, go kill all of your men. So like all of Mother Base is quarantined off. Not all of it, but a big chunk of it. Is that Big Shell? That's Kojima strikes again. I'll talk about that later. That makes zero sense to anything that we've talked about right now, but that actually is kind of funny. Anyway, so Huey makes an evil version of the virus that infects pretty much everyone. So now they quarantined off a section of Mother Base, and they're like, we have to get rid of this virus. But they don't have any way to cure it because it's a mutated virus that just now existed because of this dumb motherfucker. So then Big Boss is like, well, I gotta go kill my men. So he walks in to the quarantine zone and he's like, pow, pow, and he just kills everyone. And I say this as a joke, but unironically, that is the worst mission in that game. That hurts so much because you walk in there and all of the soldiers, who are all named, by the way, they all have names and they all tell you their name, and they salute you and they say anything for Big Boss, and then you shoot them. It's so sad. It's actually heartbreaking. And then you get back after that grueling, horrible mission where you had to kill your own men, and Huey goes, Big Boss just killed all of his men. We gotta stage a coup. You are so oh my gosh, I hate Huey. So no one buys this crap. They're all like, no, Huey, fuck you, Huey. So they kick him off Mother Base. They put him on a raft and they let him sink. All of the men wanted to kill Huey, but Venom, being the goat that he is, gave him a raft so that he has a chance of living. Spoiler alert, he does. So Mother Base is dead. Not all of it, but like a good chunk of them did die. I think it was like 30 or 40% of them are dead now. And I think, no. Okay, so after that happens, they're kind of in a lull. They don't really know what to do anymore. They're still recovering from all of their men dying. Skullface is dead, so Miller doesn't really have anyone to like hone his rage in until he remembers that he hates Quiet. So then he immediately is like back on his hate train of Quiet, who, by the way, the entire time Quiet has been silent and going on missions with Venom Snake, just doing her job. She was originally like a sniper and like an assassin for Skullface, but she said, nah, screw that guy, and started working for the Diamond Dogs. Eli, who has also just been kind of chilling on Mother Base, hijacks Sahelanthropus and flies it to Africa. He takes the third child and they just dip to Africa. This is where it gets kind of confusing because that's where the game ends. Like the game ends there. But there was some cut content that Konami, basically Phantom Pain kind of got rushed out and they didn't get to finish it. So there's some like behind the scenes, like storyboards and stuff of what happened after. And basically what happened after is that the Diamond Dogs hunt Eli to regain Sahelanthropus and kill the third child because he's literally done nothing but try and kill everyone on MSF. They do that, and then after they break Sahelanthropus, Eli is like, you know, like, oh, he's injured and stuff, and Big Boss walks up to him, gives him a gun with one bullet, and basically just tells him to kill himself. After that, the third child comes back, saves Eli, and they fly to New York City to start their life together. And that is the Phantom Pain. Did I miss anything? Kojima. Kojima's canon to this game, by the way. So in the mission where you save Miller, you know, you find him, he's being tortured, you know. There's this really sweet moment where like, you find him and his eyes are like glossy because he's blind now, and Snake gives him his old aviators, which he's wearing there, his old aviators, and it's supposed to, you know, it's like this cool moment. And there's a secret mission, which is canon, where you have to recover, quote, our most valuable asset, and it's Kojima. It's Kojima. He put himself in the game of Phantom Pain where you have to recover him because he's an invaluable asset. You pick him up, and instead of giving him the aviators, you give him glasses, and the game flexes on you with how expensive the glasses are. He's wearing JF Ray eyewear from Hideo Gear. It's the sunglasses that Hideo Kojima makes, and he's flexing on you in the game about how poor you are and how rich he is.
What took you so long?
We'll talk, but not here.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's game like 3 of like 8. Oh my gosh. Moving on. Scratch that. Don't change the color. Where is it? Metal Gear Survive. Turn the lights off. Turn that light off. This game deserves nothing, so it will get nothing. Metal Gear 1. Metal Gear 1. Metal Gear. Metal Gear is very simple. Metal Gear 1 is, it's really just Solid Snake and like his first ever mission. We're finally introduced to Solid Snake. Now, Solid Snake is a clone of Big Boss, much like how Liquid Snake was a clone of Big Boss. If we go all the way back, rewind back to Snake Eater, Zero promised Big Boss that he was going to do something called Les Enfants Terribles, which was cloning Big Boss. So we finally see something happen from that with Solid Snake, also known as Jack.
David.
So, Jack is tasked with infiltrating Outer Heaven. Now, what Outer Heaven is it is the final form of Big Boss's, like, what he's been doing these past freaking, I don't know, like 8 years or whatever. So if you remember, Big Boss dipped after Ground Zeroes, and he dipped He's like, I'm heading out of here and I'm gonna go create Outer Heaven. What Outer Heaven is it's the same exact thing as MSF and Diamond Dogs, but again. I don't know why he was so obsessed with this, but he kept trying to do it again. His goal was that soldiers, after the war and they come back, society doesn't need them anymore and they get tossed to the wayside. What he thought was that if he makes a group that is constantly in war, then soldiers won't feel bad, which is stupid, but also kind of smart. Because the way he has it set up is that no one can infiltrate Outer Heaven except a one-man unit. Because they have surveillance everywhere, and the only way for someone to actually get in is if they were basically as small as possible. So just a one-guy unit to go in. And if anyone tried to attack them with weaponry or anything, they still had the nuke from Diamond Dogs in the form of Metal Gear Rex. So they were basically covered. If anyone tried to attack them, they would just retaliate and they'd be all good. I mean, it kind of worked because they kind of just dictated war, if that makes sense. It's kind of smart. I don't know. Anyway, so as I was saying, you may be thinking, oh, well, Big Boss was heading this organization, right? Wrong. Big Boss was helping Solid Snake on his mission to take down Outer Heaven. But he was actually lying the whole time. Big Boss was in charge of Foxhound, which was his old unit, if you remember, from the Snake Eater days. But also, he was undercover and no one actually knew it was Big Boss. They thought it was just some guy. So Big Boss is helping Solid Snake take down Outer Heaven, which is actually his plan. And he doesn't want it destroyed, but he still does. Basically, what he was doing is at the end of this game, actually, hold up, I'm getting ahead of myself. Forgot about these guys. So Frank Yeager and Miller. Miller is back, by the way. Basically, at the end of Phantom Pain, we find out that Big Boss is not actually Venom Snake and that he's a body double. So then Miller feels betrayed by Big Boss, even though he betrayed him first. And he is like, that's it, I vow revenge on Big Boss. Because again, he's still just kind of revenge happy. So he vows revenge on Big Boss and is like, that's it, I'm gonna help, I'm gonna kill you, I don't know. So after they find out about that, Big Boss just kind of accepts it and is like, we gotta kill this guy. Frank Yeager is basically just a war buddy of Solid Snake. They fought together, they're pretty chill. He is also working for Big Boss because Big Boss saved Frank Yeager from a war also. So he feels indebted to him. He basically was like, oh, you saved me, I'll work for you. So he's on Outer Heaven, but Snake thinks he's helping him, but then when it's revealed that he isn't, they have this really cool moment where they're both just like, we gotta kill each other. But then after the fact, they reunite, but they pretend like nothing happened. And some characters are like, didn't you literally just try and kill him? And they're both just like, it was war, we were on the different sides. Doesn't matter, we're on the same side now. So it's kind of cool. I guess they're very mature, but also weirdly downplaying war. They just think of war as something that happens. There's literally a quote where Snake says something, Solid Snake, he says something where it's along the lines of it was just a war, not a reason to lose a good friend kind of thing. Kind of a cool quote. But, so Snake infiltrates Outer Heaven to get rid of their Metal Gear in order to stop Big Boss from controlling the world. But then, after he destroys the Metal Gear and confronts Big Boss, he's like, but you were my commander. Why did you do this? And here comes Venom Snake. Big Boss isn't back, by the way. It was always Venom. Venom was the one leading Outer Heaven. Venom was the one that was commanding Snake. Venom is back. Just kidding. He's dead. Snake kills him. And he's like, I killed Big Boss. Let's go. Metal Gear 2. Scratch that, loser. You didn't kill Big Boss. He's back because there were 2 Big Bosses. So while Venom Snake was doing his whole shebang bang with Outer Heaven, Big Boss creates New Zanzibar Land, which is just Outer Heaven again, but this time in Zanzibar. It's the exact same plot as the first game, but now Big Boss is back. You kill Big Boss at the end, but you don't actually kill him. It's weird. It's like, there's still some debate on where Venom plays into this, because some people say in the first game, you don't kill Big Boss, you injure Venom Snake, but then he comes back in Snake 2, but then you kill him. Some people think you kill Venom in the first game, but then Big Boss comes back in the second game, and then you kill him, but he's still alive. Doesn't really matter. All that we need to know is that Venom is dead, and Big Boss is MIA, and Solid Snake is the new head honcho, which leads us to Snake's Revenge on the NES. So Snake's Revenge, not written by Kojima. Konami's not involved. It was a NES game, which the original ones weren't on NES, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Metal Gear. But the reason I bring it up is because of Red Snake. Now, there's a lot to talk about with Red Snake. So, most people will just say, well, there is no such thing as Red Snake, it's just a palette swap. And I would agree with you that he is a reoccurring character. He is both the multiplayer palette swap in Snake's Revenge, which, if that was the only case, whatever. It's not written by Kojima, doesn't matter. But in Metal Gear Acid, which is a weird spin-off, it's like a turn-based tactical RPG kind of style. It's really weird. No. It is that one. It's really weird. But in Metal Gear Acid, tell me why Red Snake shows back up. He's back. There he is. He's back. And in Metal Gear Ghost Babel, guess who shows back up again? That's right. It's Red Snake. He shows up in Snake's Revenge. He shows up in Metal Gear Acid. He shows up in Metal Gear Ghost Babel. He shows up in all 3 of these games. And I'm just supposed to believe, oh, it's just a palette swap. It's not a real character. Who is Red Snake? And this leads me to my best theory ever. Red Snake is Venom Snake. Back and ready for blood. Because think about it. Some people might be saying, but he died in Metal Gear. So did Big Boss, but he comes back. Why can't Venom come back? My theory is that after the Outer Heaven incident, Venom Snake realizes that Big Boss never cared for him and that he is better without him. Because the entire time he's doing this for Big Boss, but Big Boss doesn't care about Venom. He is just a means to his end. So Venom Snake then retaliates, becoming Red Snake, because again, where is it? The Phantom Pain. Where'd it go? Because again, the Phantom Pain is red. It has a reoccurring red theme, and that is why he shows back up in his red costume, and he starts to support Solid Snake from the shadows, much like Skullface, and they show a lot of parallels between Venom and Skullface because they're both blinded by revenge, they're both misinterpreting the boss's will, they're both puppets because Skullface doesn't understand that Zero is kind of playing him the whole time, especially in Snake Eater. So my theory is that Red Snake comes back to support Solid as Venom, but from the shadows, because he can't confront Solid because Solid still thinks he's Big Boss, who is evil. Metal Gear Solid 1. The first game in the Metal Gear Solid series. What happens in this game? A lot. Metal Gear Solid 1 follows Snake's mission into Alaska to counteract the terrorists listed in order. Hold up, there's a lot of terrorists. We have Liquid Snake, who's back. We have Raven, who doesn't do anything. We have Psycho Mantis. We have everyone's favorite, Revolver Ocelot. You may be thinking, why is he with the terrorists? We'll figure that out. Decoy Octopus. I don't have her picture. I think I forgot it again. Where's my Sharpie? Sniper Wolf. She is a woman with blonde hair. Sniper Wolf. She has a sniper gun, by the way. That's her sniper. Don't question Kojima's writing. He wrote Death Stranding. This is the first Strand type game. Okay. So, you're probably wondering, there's a lot of loose threads from Phantom Pain that we still haven't figured out. What happened with Eli? What happened with the third child? What happened with all these other characters that stuff happened to? Well, the third child is back. It's actually the new character, Psycho Mantis. And Eli, who I already discussed, but again, we didn't know this until much later, he is actually Liquid Snake. You're so right. Cue the color. Make it purple.
Second, or do you want more?
A little bit more purple. Perfect. Metal Gear Solid 1. So, Psycho Mantis is the third child, and Eli is Liquid Snake, who is a clone of Big Boss, who... Oh, I found it. Okay. This is an older picture, but he won't mind. So they're both clones of Big Boss. Revolver Ocelot is back. Again, you know, this guy. He's back. I don't know, I think he's just happy to be here. This is not the first game that was released, but every single game, Revolver Ocelot is the villain, except the Phantom Pain. He's just like a really good guy and like helps you out in that game. I don't know why. I don't get it. But anyway, he is now working for the terrorists who have taken a nuclear testing facility in Alaska hostage. Their goal is to activate the Metal Gear, which is here somewhere. I forgot about this. So, let me go on a tangent about this for a second. This is completely unrelated to everything else I've talked about. But in Peace Walker, there is a character, quote, called Gear Rex. Gear Rex is a dinosaur monster modeled after Metal Gear Rex that Snake and MSF have to kill. It is canon, it is insane, and it has nothing to do with anything, but I just felt the need to mention it here. This is real. Don't give me that look. This is real. And I'm gonna put him up here with Kojima because he thought of that. way, they've taken Alaska hostage to bomb America, or again. Frank Yeager's back because he's Gray Fox, who isn't working for the terrorists, but is just there. He stops by and he's like, Snake, the government's evil, I don't know. They have to stop the terrorists from activating the Metal Gear again for like the 30th time. And then we meet Otacon, another character. Oh, actually, Huey Emmerich's son. We found him, he's back. Huey Emmerich's son, Otacon, also known as... What is his name? What? What is Otacon? Hold up, pause. What is Otacon's name? Why can't I remember that? Hal Emmerich. It's Hal Emmerich, is Huey Emmerich's son, and he's working for the terrorists. He got kidnapped, and unlike his stupid ass dad, he actually got kidnapped. And he is like legitimately trying to stop them. Unlike, again, his stupid ass dad. Some people that are helping on the mission is Mei Ling, Dr. Naomi Hunter, and this girl. Forgot her name. Doesn't matter, she's not important. She writes one book and then disappears from the plot. It's very similar to Snake Eater. They each help him with like different aspects of his mission. Mei Ling tells him ancient Chinese proverbs and then saves his game. And returning, my goat, Master Miller, aka Kazuhira Miller, but he's going by Master Miller now because he's like a drill sergeant type character for Snake. And the one who's heading the mission is Roy Campbell. Yeah, woo, woo. He is, again, he's the one heading the mission. Everyone else is under his command. And yeah. So Snake needs to infiltrate Alaska to stop the terrorists from activating the Metal Gear. And the way he does that is he needs to find the DARPA chief. So the DARPA chief it's an acronym for something I don't remember, but it's a real organization that is basically like deterrence, like it's military stuff. I don't remember, doesn't matter. He's in charge of the Metal Gear and he has like the codes he needs. But he's down here somewhere. Oh, I found him. Donald Anderson from Metal Gear Solid 3 is the DARPA chief. That's it. It's just kind of a cool connection. He doesn't do anything. He dies immediately. Snake finds him and then he has a heart attack and dies. Although, joke's on you, it actually wasn't the DARPA chief, it was Decoy Octopus. And that leads me to talk about each of the stupid Foxhound units. They're going by Foxhound now, again. After Metal Gear 1 and 2, when Big Boss dies, quote unquote, but he's not actually dead, Foxhound kind of disbanded, but Liquid Snake kind of took it back over and used it for his own purposes, essentially. So, all of these guys have abilities. They really don't, but they also do. It's weird. Sniper Wolf, she's a really good sniper. That's about it. Raven, he has a big machine gun and he likes talking to birds. That's about it. Psycho Mantis actually does have psychic powers. As we saw from the third boy, they're able to read minds and control people. Liquid Snake doesn't have any powers other than just being British and strong. Revolver Ocelot also doesn't have any powers except that he, again, don't forget, he shoots. The revolver is very good. Decoy Octopus can shapeshift, which you may think that might be the strongest of them. No, it doesn't do anything. He disguises as the DARPA chief and then has a heart attack and dies. So, after the DARPA chief dies, aka Decoy Octopus, Snake then meets up with Otacon and meets up with Gray Fox, who is actually Frank Yeager from the first Metal Gear game. Frank Yeager basically got damaged in the fight that he had with Solid Snake, where Snake thought he killed him, but it turns out he didn't actually die. He just got turned into a cyborg. So, what happened there? Go live up there with Gear Rex. What happened was that Gray Fox is Frank Yeager. He got damaged. He's on the brink of death. His sister, quote unquote, Dr. Naomi Hunter, saved him by turning him into a cyborg. Kind of, not really. What actually happened is that paramedic from the first game, which I don't know where she went, found her. Paramedic was a part in this, but then immediately died because Naomi Hunter kills her, if I remember correctly. And then she sets free Frank Yeager, but she doesn't know it's Frank Yeager because she thought he died. Anyway, Naomi creates Fox Die. So, I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish this up first. So, Snake finds Otacon. They team up to try and destroy the Metal Gear. They individually take out every member of Foxhounds, except for Revolver Ocelot and Liquid Snake. Revolver Ocelot has a duel with Solid Snake, but he gets his arm cut off by Gray Fox. His arm is gone.
It's been a long time since I had such a good fight, but I'm just getting warmed up. What? My hand!
And then he's kind of out of commission for the rest of the game. Liquid Snake is the final boss, in which Solid Snake then challenges Liquid to a duel, because Liquid's whole gimmick is that he doesn't really understand how genetics work, and he got all of the recessive genes of Big Boss, while Solid Snake got all of the dominant genes. So Liquid Snake, being the dummy he is like, recessive genes? That's the inferior one. He's also British. That's the inferior one. Is that British? So he's like, gosh darn it, Snake. That was good. That was a good one. So he thinks he's the inferior clone. So this entire ruse was just him trying to prove that he's better than Solid Snake. And he's trying to prove to dear old dad, who again, may I remind you, he has never met Big Boss. He's met Venom Snake, who isn't Big Boss, but he thinks he was. So he was like, damn, Venom Snake was kind of an asshole to me. He told me to kill myself, but Big Boss didn't do anything. So he's just getting a lot of flack for no reason. So Liquid Snake challenges Solid. He dies. He gets, they fight on a Metal Gear. I forgot about Meryl. Meryl is the niece of Roy Campbell. She's Snake's like quote unquote love interest in this game. She's a soldier that snuck onto this nuclear plant to try and, do the mission, blah, 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 all this stuff. She gets stuck after the terrorist revolt. So Snake meets up with her and they tag team some stuff. So after Snake fights Liquid, they then leave the nuclear plant with Otacon and Meryl. They get out of there. Gray Fox valiantly sacrifices himself to destroy the Metal Gear. So he's dead. And then they get out of there, hot skipping away. Miller also died. Forgot to mention that. He dies off screen. I wish I was joking. So Miller, let me just put you back up there, buddy. What happened is that like a few days before this game actually takes place, Liquid Snake kills Miller and then assumes his identity and then basically like tricks Snake by calling in on the codec, and he's like, Colonel, who is this? And he's like, it's me, Master Miller. Miller, why do you sound British? I was always British, man. And then he like tricks Snake by like giving him kind of bad information. And then it's revealed, he like takes off the wig and the aviator. He's like, it's me, Snake, your twin brother. He just dies off screen. It's kind of stupid. Granted, Miller didn't really have much of a character until Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 5. So, and from their perspective, he's like a nothing character, but then they retroactively made him like a really cool character. So it kind of sucks. Also, if you notice, he has his arm back and he is not blind. I don't know. Retcon. He got it back. He got it back. So after this incident, it's revealed that all of this was I don't know where my Sharpie went. Oh. So after Snake invades, let's get a little tally count. Dead, 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 dead. Nope, not dead. Dead, dead, dead. Alive, alive. Questionable, questionable. Alive. No, they'll actually look alive. Okay, cool. Gotcha. So after the Shadow Moses incident, as it's become, commonly known as, the government kind of covers it up as just like a slight coup that was then immediately forfeited and then, covered it up from there. They don't know about, the clones, the freaks, the President of the United States. They don't know about any of it. I'll get to that in a second. So after that happens, Snake kind of goes off on his own and is like, Metal Gears are becoming a much bigger threat than I thought they were. It's kind of like the new nuclear bomb. So him and Otacon create something called philanthropy. And that leads us to Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Cue the lights! I don't remember. Sons of Liberty! Some housekeeping rules. After this incident, it is then revealed. Okay, I might lose some people here. So, if we remember back to Snake Eater, les enfants terribles. It translates to the terrible three in French. That was the cloning project for, for Big Boss. We know Solid Snake and Liquid Snake, but who's the third Snake? So that leads us to this guy right here. Now, this guy right here, his name is George Sears. He's the third clone of Big Boss, known to be the most complete and the most perfect clone. Because as we know, dominant genes, recessive genes, they used a combination of both for him to try and see what would happen. Now you may be asking yourself, why is George Bush on the board? I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. George Sears is the President of the United States. So the 43rd President of the United States is a clone of Big Boss known as Solidus Snake, who uses a Dr. Octopus suit and 2 swords to kill people. What was that? Oh, this chick, who again, I forgot her name, she writes a book about Shadow Moses, exposing the government and letting everyone know what happened. Turns out, Revolver, where'd he go? Found him. Turns out, Revolver Ocelot was actually behind the whole thing, kind of. He was working with Mr. George Sears, who, may I remind you, is the President of the United States. He was working with him to orchestrate the Shadow Moses incident in order to gain power and throw off the Patriots. Now, let me talk about the Patriots. After Zero got paralyzed by Skullface, he was no longer able to do his duties as the leader of the philosophers. So he created an AI construct to do that job for him. Now, as we all know about AI constructs, they don't work. So Zero created something called the Patriots. Now the Patriots took the philosophers and what was once known as the wise men, take their philosophy of controlling the government and basically guiding everything and turning it into an AI learning model that then did all that automatically without necessary input from other people. What happened is that Zero lost control of it, and after he, got paralyzed and couldn't, do anything, he couldn't really stop the Patriots AI from taking over everything. So George Sears was like, I know how we can stop the Patriots. I have to pretend to do all this crazy stuff to throw them off, but also he's playing into their trick because they're actually 2 steps ahead of him. Anyway, all that being said, George Sears orchestrated the Shadow Moses incident to try and take over the Patriots, and that leads us into Sons of Liberty. So, like I said, he's dead. Get out of here. So she writes the book that exposes the government for their misdeeds, and then she kind of goes MIA after that, which I would too if I had the entire government on my ass. We're gonna put it on his little sword, because that's cool. He has a little sword. That's cute. So she writes the book that exposes them. Naomi Hunter. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Fox Die. Okay, I'm quick rant about Fox Die real quick. Naomi Hunter blames Snake for killing Frank Yeager. Why? Because he killed Frank Yeager. So Naomi Hunter creates a disease called Fox Die. It was very similar to Skullface's vocal cord parasite, but a little bit different. What it did was, instead of targeting the vocal cords and language that someone spoke, it targeted Big Boss's DNA and killed anyone that had that DNA. So the goal of it was to kill Solid Snake without making it obvious that she killed him. Because obviously if she shoots him, they know who did it. If he has a random heart attack from an unknown disease, how can they stop that? But what it actually did was start to mutate, and it started to basically just kill random people. What happened is that, how the DARPA chief had a heart attack and died? That was Fox Die. How Liquid Snake died after their fight from a heart attack? That was Fox Die. I think that's it for now, but that'll come back. That'll be relevant later. So just be aware that there's something called Fox Die, and it just kills random people. But also, it doesn't kill random people, it just kills people with the DNA of Big Boss, which, if you know anything about clones, it killed them. Which is what leads me to my theory about Red Snake being Venom Snake, because it doesn't have the DNA of Big Boss, he's just a body double, and that's why Fox Die didn't kill him back on Outer Heaven. Otacon, baby. Otacon, I don't feel like taking the picture down. Otacon. Otacon and Snake create something called the Philanthropy, which is basically an independent group that just finds Metal Gears and kills them, kind of. Their goal is basically to remove the threat of nuclear annihilation via Metal Gears from the planet. They go around and, basically try and stop these terrorists. So we start the game and we are introduced to Philanthropy, and they're on a mission. They are on a tanker. Now this tanker is being manned by a few different individuals. This tanker is rumored to hold a Metal Gear. It's a bit of an interesting tip. It's not necessarily one they would normally trust, but in Ocelot's word, or not Ocelot, in Otacon's word, it was something he felt on a whim. It's later revealed that actually Otacon's sister is the one that gave the tip, so that's why he believed it. But they're basically on this tanker. They are trying to kill this Metal Gear, but then a rogue group of Russians take over the tanker and start to take the Metal Gear for themselves. So we're introduced to, I don't know his name. It's a very stereotypical Russian name, but I don't remember it. And I'm not gonna say anything because he dies very quickly. But this is Olga. Olga Olga's dad. Let's just go with that. That's her dad. They are both taking over this tanker along with the help of our trusty friend, Revolver Ocelot. He's back again, which we knew, but he's back again. So, Revolver Ocelot has an interesting conundrum because we all remember what happened with him. He was in a fight with Gray Fox and he got his arm cut off. But now that we see him again, he has both of his arms. What happened? Okay. I don't know how to... There's no good way to explain this. Revolver Ocelot had Liquid Snake's arm grafted onto him to replace the arm he lost. Kind of weird, but pretty standard. Liquid Snake had just died. You know, he needs a new arm. Go for it. This then causes Liquid Snake's conscious to take over Revolver Ocelot, meaning that he's back, and every once in a while, Revolver Ocelot tweaks out, starts speaking in a British accent, and goes, "Hello, brother," when he's talking to Solid Snake, but it's actually an 80-year-old man named Sharasaka who is being controlled by Liquid Snake. So, Liquid's back. Liquid's back. We all thought he died. Nope, no one dies in these games. So, we get on this tanker, and it's being manned by Revolver Ocelot, who again is being controlled by Liquid Snake, and Olga and her dad. So, these guys take over the tanker to steal the Metal Gear. That's the Metal Gear. You may be asking why it's doing a backflip. I'll get to that. So, Solid Snake fights Revolver Ocelot, who is being controlled by Liquid, and he also fights Olga, and again, I don't know his name, but Olga's dad. Just go with that. So Solid Snake fights Revolver Ocelot to take back the Metal Gear that him and Otacon are trying to steal. But it was actually a planned operation, and Revolver Ocelot planted the tip to Philanthropy, getting them to come to this tanker. His plan was to take the tanker from them and then have videographic evidence of Solid Snake being at the tanker and then framing him for the stealing of Metal Gear Ray. So what happens is that Snake tries to take it, the plan goes correctly, he destroys the tanker and takes the Metal Gear, and he grabs that and he gets the picture of Snake in the ocean and he goes, "I'm out of here." Oh, and he backflips into the ocean. And then it swims away because I guess this Metal Gear can swim now. Flash forward like 2 or 3 years, I don't remember. And we're introduced to Raiden. Let me talk about Raiden. Raiden comes out of absolutely nowhere and is now the new playable character of Metal Gear Solid. So, we're introduced to Raiden in the exact same way that we were introduced to Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 1. We see him swimming in the ocean in a weird suit. He breaches the water in some sort of weird, like, espionage environment, and then Roy Campbell calls him and calls him Snake. Why does he do that? Don't know. Ask this guy. But he calls him Snake about twice and then immediately says, "Let's not call each other that. I gotta call you something different. I'm gonna call you Raiden." So, he calls him Raiden. Why does he do that? I don't know. Anyway, new playable character. Surprisingly, he's not a Snake. He's not a clone of Big Boss. He's not a body double. He's nothing. He's his own character. So, Raiden's story, briefly talk about it. He's a child soldier in the I believe it's the Libyan Civil War, where he basically became known as Jack the Ripper because he was really good at killing people. So he was just killing a bunch of people, and then we find this out later, but I'll just say it now. George Sears, again, the president, was the one that actually was in charge of Raiden's child soldier group. So George Sears uses child soldiers, which, sure, man. I mean, this guy did that too. I don't think he did, but he might have. I don't know. I don't think he did. He didn't. He didn't. I don't put it past him though. It's revealed that George Sears, aka Solidus Snake, Solid IUS, Solidus, is the father. He's not actually right. Wait, pause. He actually is his adopted father. So George Sears, little baby Raiden. So we find out that Raiden is a child soldier by George Sears, and then George Sears is his dad. He's also the president. He also orchestrated the Shadow Moses incident, and that leads us to post-time skip Metal Gear Solid 2, because again, there's that little time skip there. We'll get there. Who's this? I need that. Scratch that. Reverse it. Oh, I found Sniper Wolf. See? Once again, my artistic ability is never to be questioned. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to be introducing our crazy cast of terrorists. So we have Vamp. Vamp is a bisexual vampire from Romania, and his girlfriend, Fortune. Fortune is a soldier who has basically like very good luck in war, meaning that you can't shoot her because all the bullets like fly away. And if you like throw a grenade at her or something, the grenade like doesn't go off. It's kind of weird. We have Fat Man. Bomb defusal guy named Fat Man, and he is an actual fat guy who rides around on rollerblades sipping wine with a straw? Hell yeah! The group is held by George Sears, and they're known as Dead Cell. So what Dead Cell wants to do, they want to take over the Big Shell. Great name, I know. So Big Shell, yada yada yada. It's a plant in the ocean that is like an environmental plant. They want to take it over and hold it hostage in order to, I don't know, get money, ransom money essentially. The president is entitling Dead Cells in order to do it. They're a terrorist group. They used to work for the government and then they went MIA, similar to Cobra Unit back in Snake Eater. So they do that. George Sears then starts to manipulate everyone on the raft in order to do what he wants, including Dead Cells. So after that, Raiden is introduced. So Raiden is tasked with infiltrating this plant and basically trying to stop the terrorists from getting their demands. He enlists the help of a Mr. Pliskin. Before you ask, yes, that's just Solid Snake again. No, it's not a clone. It's not a clone. It's actually just Solid Snake again. He's going undercover because everyone thinks that he was involved with the Big Shell incident. Sorry, the tanker incident where the Metal Gear flipped off the backflip. They think he was involved with that, so he's in hiding. He's like, but he comes back under the name Pliskin to help out Raiden take down George Sears. So after that, they enlist the help of Monsieur Stillman, who is the greatest bomb defusal man known, and they enlist his help in order to defeat Fat Man. Now, what's interesting is that Stillman actually taught Fat Man everything he knows. They're connected. He taught him everything he knows, so that's why they enlisted his help, because they thought he would know what to do. What actually happened is that they go to defuse the bombs. Stillman dies because Fat Man tricked him. He blows up, he dies, and then we have the boss fight with Fat Man. Fat Man starts skating around, doing all those tricks. He starts like skating and then back skating, whipping out Tech 9s and shooting Raiden. It's kind of crazy, but he then dies pretty quickly. Raiden shoots him in the head and he dies. But right before he dies, he blows up part of Big Shell and it starts flooding And it's later revealed that Fat Man kind of just went MIA, and he wasn't there to actually help the terrorists. He just wanted to blow stuff up, which I respect it. So that happens. Raiden then has to keep infiltrating Big Show because they're trying to find the president, not George Bush. But he does scarily look a lot like George Bush. So they enlist the help of Pliskin, along with Mr. X. So, Mr. X, you may be looking at this and saying, hold up, who's the same character? I'll get to that. Mr. X tells him where the president is, Raiden follows him, and he's like, I gotta save the president. So, he gets the president, he encounters George Sears, who is working with Revolver Ocelot, who is being controlled by Liquid Snake. He then reveals to Raiden that he actually was brainwashed, and he basically just reveals everything about his past. Because up until this point, Raiden has been absolutely fumbling this baddie right here. This is Rosemary, Raiden's girlfriend. This entire game, he has been fumbling her because she is helping on this mission as a data analyst, and she keeps saying, Raiden, do you know what tomorrow is? And he keeps saying, I don't know what you're talking about. It was their anniversary, and he just didn't remember, and he's really stupid. But then it's revealed that he actually had his mind erased by George Sears, who then reveals it to everything, and now he's like, oh my gosh, I killed so many people in war. So he becomes traumatized. He's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Where'd the pen Sharpie go? And then he fights Vamp, who is a bisexual vampire. Raiden and Pliskin work together to defeat all of Dead Cell. They go down the line, they kill Fortune. It's actually revealed that she didn't really have any powers. It was just a EMP implanted by the Patriots to, make her disable electrical abilities. Fat Man, he's already dead. We had to figure that out. Oh yeah, also he died. That happened a while ago. But they're going through Big Show. They're trying to stop the terrorists. And then it is revealed, which actually, side note, there were 2 other members of Dead Cell before this game. They were a guy who was very skilled at close quarters combat, and an older guy who was very similar to the end, the sniper guy from Snake Eater, who was really old but really good at his craft. Their names were Chinaman and Old Boy. They died before this game started, so we don't got to worry about them. Just that you should know. So, how did they die? What is happening on Big Shell? Why does this sound like the exact same plot of the first Metal Gear? The Patriots. The Patriots, if we remember, is the AI construct of the philosophers that Zero created. They have taken control of every aspect of the government. They're the reason George Sears got elected. They're the reason 2 of the Dead Cell members were dead. They're the reason that Raiden was picked for this mission. They are the reason that everything happened. Think about it. Big Show, Patriots. Raiden, Patriots. George Sears, Patriots. All of Dead Cell, the Patriots. The entire tanker incident, that was the Patriots. Cool little detail. They're also called the Lali Lule Lo, which is, just something they call themselves. In Japan, they don't have L pronunciations. So when someone says that, it's not a part of their vocabulary. They can't, it would be the same as us using, it would be the same of an English speaker rolling their R's, because that's not really something that they do in that language. So it's basically just another layer of the Patriots are invisible to the people. No one knows who they are, except Snake. My goat. Snake reveals himself, obviously. He helps Raiden take down George Sears and Dead Cells, but then it's revealed that Roy Campbell, who was supposed to be helping Raiden on the case, was also an AI construct. He lured Raiden into this trap, told him, he lured Raiden into this construct, and he told him to turn the game console off. Oh my gosh. So everything that happened here was all by the Patriots. They did everything. They did everything. The Patriots control everything. They used Raiden to infiltrate the Big Shell and used this entire situation as a replica of the Shadow Moses incident. So, the Patriots used Raiden as basically a human experiment to recreate the Shadow Moses incident, because in their eyes, the reason why Snake is the legendary soldier and warrior that he is because of his experiences in combat, i.e. the Shadow Moses incident. They used this situation to recreate Shadow Moses in order to turn Raiden into the next super soldier. Because they saw the volatility of Liquid Snake, they saw the unreliability of George Sears, and they saw that Snake was MIA, and they said, if we can't clone Big Boss, we're gonna make him again. That leads us to a completely unrelated game. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Nothing to do with anything we just talked about. Rising Revengeance. So, technically, in the timeline sense, this is the last game. I skipped a game. But from a story perspective, it makes more sense to talk about this one next. This game follows Mr. Lightning Bolt. Raiden. You may be asking yourself, what do you mean Mr. Lightning Bolt? The President of the United States calls him that, and no one ever calls him that again. Sorry. Mr. Lightning Bolt. He's working with this guy. He's basically his guy in the chair. Raiden's basically just continuing what Snake and him were doing, of just trying to rid the world of Metal Gear. This game doesn't have a crazy, it has a weird story, but it's not a crazy, deep and insane story. It's just really funny. Sundowner kidnaps the president because he wants to bring the world back to 9/11.
Like the good old days after 9/11.
He liked it when 9/11 was happening, because then he could go to the Middle East and kill brown children without any moral issues, because they're terrorists and they're evil. Therefore, evil equals evil. Killing evil is good. Therefore, Sundowner is a good guy for killing brown children. So, he wants to return the world to a more war state. His plan is, if he kills the president and blames it on Raiden, he can then use that as basically an okay to start committing terror. Because oh, well, if a terrorist attack killed the president, go terror. So, change the color, baby. Color shift. Make it pink. Woo! Pink enough. Woo! So, Sundowner is being employed by Senator Armstrong. And yes, I did say senator. He is a U.S. senator. He is enacting the help of Monsoon, Mistral, and Jetstream Sam. I'm not making up any of these names. He is well, I'll kill Raiden. Actually, what happened is that Jetstream Sam tried to kill Senator Armstrong, but then Senator Armstrong beat him in a fight. So he was well, I'll follow this guy because he's stronger than me. That kind of idea. So Senator Armstrong's employing the use of these cybernetically advanced soldiers to basically not start 9/11 again, but again, bring the world back to quote Sundowner, the good old days after 9/11. I would never say such a thing. But he then takes Raiden and is going to plan on use him as a decoy to then, cause terror. So Raiden is don't take the president. That's bad. And then fights. He tries to fight Sam in a battle, and Sam knocks his block off and basically beats him immediately without much of a hustle. He loses his lower jaw and he gets his eye cut out. Hence bringing us to the new and improved Raiden. Pow! He gets a cool little chin, metal chin. He gets a cool little bandage over his eye. And he gets a new, cooler sword, baby. And then Raiden's goal is now to kill each and every one of the terrorists. Kind of, they're not really terrorists. They're just kind of doing this for the love of the game. Not even joking. So he just basically goes around to get these guys. He fights Mistral first, kills her. Fights Monsoon, kills him. Fights Sundowner, kills him. The game is very crazy and insane. The soundtrack is amazing. It's beautiful. The first boss fight of the game is Metal Gear Ray, which was the final boss of Sons of Liberty, where Raiden legitimately catches the sword of the Metal Gear, which again is about 50 times bigger than him. He catches the sword, deflects it, and then chops the Metal Gear in half. This is the first level of the game. Anyway, Raiden does that. He kills Sundowner, he kills Mistral, he kills Monsoon. After killing Monsoon, he starts to get a little bit more crazy and he brings out Jack the Ripper, his old persona from when he was back as a child soldier. And then he fights Jetstream Sam, ends up killing him. It's this really cool moment where it's like, like the parallels, they started, he beat him, then they reverse, he beat him. We learn more about his character and how he's more of just like a wandering soldier and how he doesn't really have a purpose in his life. Raiden then tries to help him, but he's like, it's too far gone, that kind of stuff. It's really cool. I recommend it. And then that leads us to this guy right here. So Senator Armstrong is a US elected official who punts Raiden like a football. And I'm not even exaggerating. That is their first initial fight. Raiden tries to beat him and he starts beating the crap out of Senator Armstrong. He does not flinch. He slices him, the sword is deflected, and there is no explanation other than one line where he says, "Nanomachine, son," and never explains it again. Does not explain why he's invincible other than, quote, "Nanomachine's son."
Why won't you die? Nanomachine, son.
He also is quoted as saying, played college ball, could have gone pro if I didn't join the Navy. We have I'll Make America Great Again. This was made in 2015. No, 2010, I believe, is when this game was made. So that's crazy. He basically just wants to turn the US into a anarchy state where survival of the fittest is basically law. So he does that. He employs all these people to try and create that chaos. And then him and Raiden hug. It's kind of cute. But then they fight. And then a really cool song plays. And then he kills Senator Armstrong. And then that's it.
Maybe I was wrong about you. Am I finally getting through? I'll rid this world of pointless wars, Jack. I was wrong. You're not greedy. You're batshit insane!
Why did I talk about that? I just like that game. You should play it. Metal Gear Solid 4. Guns of the Patriots. Oh my. Change the color. Cue the white color. Make it white, baby. There we go. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the final game in the Metal Gear Solid timeline. It follows Solid Snake is back. He's old now. They call him Old Snake. He has an eye patch, but he didn't lose his eye. It's just a cybernetic eye because, I don't know. So, Old Snake and Otacon are trying to continue what they had with philanthropy. We're trying to rid the world of weaponry and like war and stuff with the development of like nanomachines and cybernetics and, you know, the Patriots AI taking control of everything. We've now entered a new age of war where everything is technological and pretty much every conflict is fought using militias, essentially. Like individual groups of militias fighting for control. And the head honcho, Revolver Ocelot. Sorry, Liquid Ocelot. Because the persona of Liquid Snake has fully taken control of Revolver Ocelot, and he takes on the new persona of Liquid Ocelot. So, Liquid Ocelot is in charge of the largest military in the world. He is using this to basically do whatever he wants, but he has enough firepower to basically push people around to do whatever he wants. Old Snake and Otacon look at this and they say, we have to stop him, hence the game. Let's get some background details out of the way. Meryl is back. She hasn't been around since the second game. She's back. She stopped talking to Snake because after the events of the Shadow Moses incident, Snake kind of went MIA and ghosted Meryl. Fumble. Meryl is now working as a soldier under Roy Campbell. She's heading the new Foxhound unit again, and she is now working for Roy Campbell. Again, her dad. But she doesn't like him right now because Roy Campbell had an affair with Raiden's girlfriend, now wife. Meaning, Raiden is getting cheated on by Roy Campbell. No, yes, no, wait, no, they're not having it. No, not these guys. Rose is cheated on Raiden with Roy. There we go. That's her niece. No, his niece, daughter. And then Meryl helps out Old Snake in this fight. But Snake is also helping out Roy in this instance, but he doesn't like doing that because of the government. So background knowledge that we need to know about. Roy Campbell is trying to head the revolt against Liquid Ocelot's military. He enlists the help of Meryl, who is leading Foxhound, along with Johnny. I have not mentioned Johnny at all up until this point. It's because I don't like him. He's technically there in the other games, but not by name and purely coincidental. Sorry to all the Johnny fans out there. Anyway, Johnny is working for Foxhound with Meryl, who is being headed by Roy Campbell. Roy Campbell and Meryl are not on good terms because, you know, Roy cheated on Rose, and Raiden's upset about that too. So then Old Snake teams up with Meryl to then defeat Liquid Ocelot. But due to Liquid Ocelot's control of the nanomachines, he can basically just stop anyone from fighting. Like, he has control of all the nanomachines in people's bodies, so he can literally just click a button and then all the soldiers on the battlefield can't fight anymore. Like, they just stop fighting. Liquid Ocelot now controls pretty much everything. He is but a peon to the Patriots because the Patriots have now turned into the GWAI. Now, the GWAI stands for the George Washington Advanced Intelligence. It's basically complete control over everything. We talked about this in Sons of Liberty. Turns out George Sears was also just a pawn for the Patriots to use. His whole goal was to be free of the Patriots, but he was playing into their trap the entire time. So, after all of that has been revealed, Old Snake is like, we gotta kill the Patriots. He teams up Raiden, Meryl, Otacon, all to kill Liquid Ocelot. During their adventures, they run into Sonny. Sonny is just a child soldier. No, not a soldier, but a child of war. Very different. She basically helps Otacon with some of his like the technological aspects of his endeavors. They also run into Naomi Hunter, who's back. She is teaming up with Liquid Ocelot, kind of. She is teaming up with him, but it's kind of a loose relationship. Basically, what she's trying to do is she's trying to kind of atone for what she did with Snake because she realizes that it wasn't his fault that her brother died, her brother being Gray Fox. Old Snake, while also trying to stop Liquid Ocelot, he's also trying to fix his own issues because he is aging faster than a normal human should, hence why he looks like 75 when he's biologically 40 years old. And he tries to get Naomi Hunter to help her, but she can't really help him because it's, you know, it's kind of to the point where like you can't reverse the aging process. So he's kind of screwed. During their endeavor, they're trying to find a way to get to Liquid Ocelot to stop him. And along the way, they run into a character that we haven't seen since the first game, Eva, also known as Big Mama.
Very impressive, CQC, Snake. No doubt about it. He is the legendary soldier. Call me Mama. Big Mama.
Now, Big Mama is in cahoots with Old Snake and Otacon in order to stop Liquid Ocelot from doing his whole plan. She is helping them retrieve the body of Big Boss. Now, the reason they're trying to get the body of Big Boss is because it's revealed to them that Big Boss's body is the biometric code in order to unlock the GWAI unit in order to shut it down. Because again, if we think about it, the Patriots were born from Zero's obsession with Big Boss. He was kind of the core of it. So it makes narrative sense for Big Boss's corpse to be the thing that unlocks it. They're trying to find Big Boss's corpse. Eva, you know, being involved in this situation, knows a little something about it. She actually has the corpse, which is weird, but she has Big Boss's corpse and lends it to them. Unfortunately, Liquid Ocelot intercepts it, takes the corpse for himself, and then runs away back to Shadow Moses. Because, I don't know, he's kind of weird. I'll get to that. I'll get to that. He's back at Shadow Moses because, I don't know, he's still that weird Liquid Ocelot freak where he's like, I gotta be the better brother. And he's like doing all this stuff to try and prove that he's the, you know, bigger, better clone of Big Boss. So he takes it back to Shadow Moses. At Shadow Moses, Naomi Hunter dies because she reveals she had cancer. And she was doing this to try and atone for what she did. They try and fight Liquid Ocelot, but he runs away. And there's that, you know, there's the whole thing where he's like, he runs away and he's like, ha ha ha, brother. And he gets on a Metal Gear and runs away because he has another Metal Gear again. I don't know what this is. I don't know what he was thinking. This is interesting. Let me talk about this. This is Mount Rushmore, but each president is a face of Snake. We have Solid Snake here. We have Solid Snake, Liquid, and Big Boss. Two things. One, what the hell? Why did he build this? Liquid Snake had to carve out their faces in a mountain for a 2-second gag. He puts this out, talks about how he's the better of the four and how he will basically like usurp all of them. But also he's talking about how Big Boss's legacy is the key to everything, and then just leaves and they never talk about this again. Why did he make this? We'll never know. Anyway. So he escapes Shadow Moses, Naomi's dead, and he has the corpse of Big Boss. He then goes back to Outer Heaven, which is not the same Outer Heaven as before. It is the Arsenal Gear ocean ship thing from Metal Gear Solid 2. He is basically using that as his home base where he can basically do whatever he wants. Because again, he now has the corpse of Big Boss, meaning he can now control the GWAI Patriots thing that controls everything in the world. Old Snake, Meryl, Johnny. Big Mama died. Did I mention that? Big Mama's dead. She died. Side note about Big Mama. She actually gave birth to all of the clones. She gave birth to Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and Solidus Snake. That's why they call her Big Mama. Anyway, she's a cool character. She just doesn't have much plot relevance. Anyway, so she died. Forgot to mention that. She died because Liquid Ocelot killed her when he took the corpse of Big Boss. So he has the corpse. He's at Outer Heaven. He's at his Outer Heaven place. So Old Snake, Raiden, Meryl, and Johnny and Otacon go to kill Liquid Snake to stop him from controlling the world. So they get to the gear, they sneak in, they go, they sneak into his gear, they infiltrate his gear, and the Old Snake goes through a microwave tunnel. I don't know why they have a microwave tunnel in there, but he sneaks through the microwave tunnel. And they get to the GWAI unit, and then Sunny plugs in a code that she had that basically shuts down the GWAI. So they fight that, they do all this stuff. They add Sunny's thing to destroy Liquid Ocelot's GWAI. He destroys it, and then the GWAI is destroyed. Yeah. But then it's revealed that Liquid Snake was never actually real. Let's start at the beginning. This is a picture of Liquid Ocelot kissing Solid Snake. This is the final boss of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. And you're gonna tell me Revolver Ocelot's not gay for Big Boss? Are you sure about that? Anyway, it's revealed that this was all Revolver Ocelot's plan. Let me break it down real quick. Revolver Ocelot was never actually hypnotized by Liquid Snake. All the way back in Sons of Liberty, Revolver Ocelot used hypnotherapy to make himself believe he was being controlled by Liquid Snake. It was all a farce. So he used that in order to trick the Patriots into thinking that Revolver Ocelot was no longer a threat. Because if you remember, Revolver Ocelot was one of the few remaining members of the Patriots. Eva, dead. Zero, incapacitated. The DARPA chief, aka Donald Anderson, he died back in Metal Gear Solid 1. Paramedic also died. Every single member was out of commission except Revolver Ocelot. So Revolver Ocelot used hypnotherapy in order to make himself think he was Liquid Snake. And hear me out. You wanna know who killed the real DARPA chief? Revolver Ocelot. Back in Metal Gear Solid 1, they had an interrogation in order to get information out of the DARPA chief. Revolver Ocelot killed him. All the way back in Metal Gear Solid 1, he was planning this. In this game, he fully tricked himself into thinking he was Liquid Snake in order to basically fly under cover of the Patriots. He used all of this diversion in order to finally destroy the Patriots once and for all. Because Revolver Ocelot was never the bad guy. He was never evil. All the way back in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, he saw Big Boss and he said, that is the guy I want to be. That is the guy I want to be with. I want to have sex with him. So Revolver Ocelot then spent his entire life trying to unravel what the Patriots did. And that takes us to the final cutscene of Metal Gear Solid 4, where it is revealed that Zero is still alive. He is like 120 years old. He is still alive. And you know who else is still alive? Big Boss. That's right. The corpse of Big Boss was actually Solidus Snake. They used his corpse as a decoy in order to trick everyone. Who did that? Ocelot. Woo! Revolver Ocelot. All of his plan. He tricked everything. We're now revealed that Big Boss and Zero are still alive, and they visit Solid Snake at the boss's grave. Solid Snake goes to the boss's grave, remember all the way back at 1, he goes to the boss's grave in order to shoot himself with a gun. Because he wants to kill himself. Basically what happened is that he believes the Foxdie virus, again, remember Naomi Hunter, the Foxdie virus is basically eventually going to turn Snake into like a bioweapon. I don't know, Foxdie's weird. Foxdie is really confusing, but basically if he kills himself, it'll be fine. But Big Boss shows back up and he's like, no, Snake, don't kill yourself because it won't actually kill you. Naomi Hunter was lying to you because she was trying to get one last leg up on you before you died. So then Big Boss brings Zero and he basically tells Snake everything. He's like, hey, by the way, Snake, I'm still alive. That's my bad, pimp. I kind of orchestrated a lot of this stuff. Me and Ocelot were kind of in cahoots for a little bit of it. We destroyed the GWAI. We're all good there. I'm your dad, kind of. Sorry about all the war. And yeah, he basically explains the entire plot of Metal Gear. And then he brings Zero along just to kill him. He unplugs his life support, so Zero died. And then Big Boss dies, for real this time. He succumbs to Foxdie and fully accepts his death, and he dies on the grave of the boss. And Solid Snake takes Big Boss's final words and decides to continue living in honor of the boss's memory, but also to live for himself. Woo! And that is the entire Metal Gear timeline.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's not even taking into account the spin-offs. In Metal Gear Solid 2, it's canon that Raiden and Snake skateboard on Big Shell in a Skate 3 style game. Raiden's appearance, or not Raiden, Snake's appearance in Smash is kind of canon. Roy Campbell talks to him in the game and instructs him on how to beat his enemies, which include Wario and Fox and Donkey Kong. They also don't even mention the fact that Gray Fox is playable in the first game. No one talks about that. You can play as Gray Fox in the first game. It's like in the VR missions. I think that's it.
Arigato.